Saw dudes, I know Prismatic Warlock is all the rage, but I wanted to take a step back from that and show you guys the best support build for Warlocks in terms of healing. Today's build will be using the Speaker Sight Exotic Helmet, which was released with the final shape. This exotic piece causes healing grenades to become healing turrets. The turrets fire orbs that grant us and allies restoration. We will be combining this with Hellion, the newest solar aspect, for some great area control and backline support. Honestly, this build is super easy to use, so I found it much better for team play. Let's get started. Okay, as a support, your primary goal is to provide healing to the team, or yourself, because who actually cares about your team? First, throw down a healing grenade to create a healing turret, then cast your rift to spawn a Hellion or Solar Soul. From there, it's just a matter of shooting at enemies and recasting your abilities to stay alive. If enemies get close, use Incinerator Snap to cause an ignition and back off. If you need something dead fast, or start getting swarmed, back up for a second and use your healing sources. Rinse and repeat. Today's ability setup will be using the new Solar Warlock Super, Song of Flame. I realized that Well of Radiance did get nerfed, but I chose not to use it because we already have two sources of healing. Anyway, Song of Flame grants us and nearby allies Radiant, 30% damage resist, and increased ability regen. We also get Scorching Rounds for kinetic and solar weapons while the super is active. The super greatly buffs our melee and grenade abilities. We will be using Healing Rift for our class ability simply because it makes surviving against adds easier. You can use Empowering Rift if you want. Incinerator Snap is the melee I chose to use because of its on-demand ignitions. Finally, you will have to use Healing Grenade since it's the only one that works with Speaker Sight. Aspects this time around will be Hellion and Touch of Flame. Hellion makes class ability casts spawn a mini flame buddy for 20 seconds. Every 1.35 seconds, the mini arsonist will lob a scorching solar projectile towards an enemy within 40 meters. These projectiles hit surprisingly hard and apply 30 scorch stacks on hit in a 4-meter radius. This aspect alone does a lot of heavy lifting for the build and is amazing for secondary ad clear and boss damage. Touch of Flame actually buffs our healing turrets from Speaker Sight. Normally, every healing seeker from a turret will apply Cure ×1 and Restoration ×1. However, with Touch of Flame equipped, this gets bumped up to Restoration ×2, which is massive for harder content. 4 seconds of Restoration ×2 can save you in a bad situation and just make supporting yourself and allies much easier. As for Fragments, we will be using Ember of Benevolence, Searing, Singeing, and Torches. Benevolence grants 400% additional base grenade, melee, and class ability regen for 6 seconds after buffing an ally. This buff procs constantly thanks to our healing turrets. Searing causes kills against scorched enemies to grant melee energy. Singeing grants a 300% additional base class ability regen rate for 3 seconds upon applying Scorch to an enemy. Finally, Ember of Torches causes powered melee hits to grant us and allies within 8 meters radiant for 8 seconds. Time to go over the armor. On Speaker Sight, I use Harmonic Siphon, Special Ammo Finder, and Font of Wisdom. For the gauntlets, I used Heavy Handed, Font of Focus, and Impact Induction. On the vest, there was Concussive Dampener and 2 variable resistance mods. The boots had Recuperation and 2 copies of Solar Weapon Surge. Lastly, the mark had Time Dilation, Reaper, and Bomber. Okay, so now let's talk stats. As usual, I'm going to urge you to use Tier 10 Resilience since it allows you to tank more hits. This is actually more important than you think since saving your teammates does mean you'll have to risk your neck. Next, I would invest points into Recovery and Discipline. Recovery reduces the cooldown for our rifts, and Discipline reduces our grenade cooldown. Our grenade is integral, since it provides team-wide healing, and our rift provides offensive value to our kit, since we have Hellion equipped. Other points can be put into Intellect and Strength. If you find the video helpful at all, please consider subscribing. It would help me out a lot, and I would be eternally grateful. Okay, let's cover the weapon loadout options. I'm going to stop numbering them and just give you guys options to condense it a bit. Hopefully, this new format will work a bit better for you guys. My preferred loadout at the moment uses the Navigator, No Hesitation, and Apex Predator. The Navigator is a support player's dream. This exotic trace rifle grants us and allies Woven Mail after firing at them and severs enemies, reducing their damage output. Even though Strand doesn't directly synergize with our kit, it makes keeping allies alive much easier. Combining Woven Mail and Sever with Restoration ×2 and Cure is a massive boon in higher tier content. If one of your fire team members is using Grapple, you can help them out by placing a Grapple Tangle too. No Hesitations is the first of the new support auto rifle frame. This weapon functions a lot like Lumina, the exotic hand cannon. Dealing damage fills up a meter below the reticle. Hip firing at allies releases healing seekers, and healing them grants the gun bonus damage. Long story short, this weapon is perfect for our role, and it's craftable. I would look at crafting a couple of roles like Demolitionist plus Frenzy, Demolitionist plus Incandescent, or Demolitionist plus Circle of Life. And of course, how could we have a solar build without using my favorite solar heavy weapon, Apex Predator? As usual, I am using Hard Launch, Impact Casing, Reconstruction, and either Bait and Switch or Bipod. I would argue that you could go either way on the 4th perk, but if you need to carry DPS, consider using Bait and Switch. If your team needs ad clear, go Bipod. Okay, now let's highlight another combo. For this, we're going to swap out the Navigator and No Hesitation for Lost Signal and Red Death Reformed. This setup also encourages support, which is great. Lost Signal is an area denial frame, which is new with the final shape. It basically acts like a mini Witherhoard but fires in bursts of 3. Unlike Witherhoard though, it does fall behind in boss damage, but we're not really using it for that reason to begin with. It is craftable, so I do suggest getting the pattern for it when you can. A role I'm currently interested in is Lead from Gold and One for All. In high level content, you will need the damage bonus from One for All to kill adds. An alternative to this role would be auto-loading holster for the ease of use. Red Death is back, and while it may be reformed, it doesn't stop you from getting bloody here or there. Its exotic perk, Redemption, causes final blows to cure you and increase reload speed. Reloading after a kill grants cure to nearby allies. It's basically heal clip on steroids. The other exotic perk, Inverse Relationship, causes damage dealt with this weapon to grant increased handling, take reduced flinch, and increase movement speed for a short time. When you are at reduced health, Red Death deals additional damage. The Catalyst, which will be released later on, will allow this weapon to create a remnant that will heal allies after some kills. So yeah, this weapon is great for slaying out in general, but it is a massive help to a team that lacks survivability. I highly suggest trying this weapon out if you haven't already, since it works great standalone. Lastly, if you don't quite like Lost Signal, you could possibly swap it out for Mountaintop. Mountaintop does deal a bit more damage and can be used in damage rotations more effectively than Lost Signal. The role I like using for it is Hard Launch, Spike Grenades, Lead from Gold, and Frenzy. Unfortunately, the exotic class item for Warlocks won't work with this build because it doesn't have the exotic perk found on Speaker's site. Other than that, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys liked the build, and if there's anything I missed or something you want to see, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching and happy farming. Stay safe.